Hello friends, I am Dr. Vijay Prakash and today I'll be talking to you about functionally generated pathway. Now what is functionally generated pathway? By definition, functionally generated pathway is defined as the registration of the path of movements of the occlusal surface of the teeth or occlusal rim of one dental arch in plastic or other media attached to the teeth or occlusal rims of the opposing arch. So this is by definition. It was the technique which was first described by F.S. Mayer in 1934, and it is a simple technique which uses a soft plastic material such as tacky wax or patent resin, which is used to carve the pathways traveled by the opposing cusp on the lateral excursive movements of the mandible. So basically you're using a soft material like wax here, and you are asking the patient to make movements, and these are generating the pathways on and carving onto the wax surface. So this record is actually a static and a dynamic occlusion which is made in the patient's mouth, and this reduces the role of the articulator to a simple hinge instrument. This technique is indicated for single tooth restorations, although functionally generated pathway was adapted for use in full mouth rehabilitation by Mann and Pankey in 1960, but it is not that popular in use for full mouth rehabilitation cases. So what are the prerequisites for using this technique? One, it should be used for single restoration. Secondly, there should be no posterior interference. Whenever you are using this technique, make sure that there is no posterior interference. You have to remove those posterior interferences, and there should be a correct anterior guidance. Also, there should be no missing or damaged opposing teeth. So that means you have to have opposing tooth which should be in proper shape, and also there should be no posterior interference either in the opposing tooth or in any other tooth. Now let us understand what is the technique. Now just for the ease of explanation, I am using an articulator and the cast, but the process which I am explaining should be done in the patient's mouth. Now first thing which we need to see is we need to equilibrate the occlusion to eliminate any posterior interferences, as I told you in the prerequisites. Then we will evaluate the existing occlusion, like whether the patient is having a group function occlusion or a mutually protected occlusion. We need to evaluate after we remove the posterior interferences. Once this is done, then we are going to apply petrolatum jelly on the opposing tooth. Usually we use to fabricate restoration on the maxillary teeth. Although mandibular teeth restoration can also be fabricated, but it's the maxillary teeth which are more common. Suppose we have to make the restoration, cast restoration for say first molar, which you can see in the picture in front of you. So after applying the petrolatum jelly on the opposing tooth, then you will be doing a occlusal reduction of the first molar, that is the maxillary first molar. Once we have done the occlusal reduction, then you will apply cavity varnish on the occlusal surface, and then you are going to place the tacky wax or patent resin in between the teeth. So and then you will ask the patient to bite into centric. First you will guide the patient into centric, and then you will ask the patient to bite into maximum intercuspation, and then make excursive movements, both right and left excursive movements, and then the protrosive movements. Once we have done this, then you will ask the patient to make these movements and mill around for some while. Once the patient does not experience any kind of interference between the teeth, then you ask the patient to stop, and you will check the wax bite which we have given. So what you find here, the opposing cusp tips will carve grooves on the wax which represent the border movements of the mandible in 3 dimensions. Now after this, what you have to do is, once you are sure with your record there is no interference from the patient side, then you have to make a impression cast. And now you will mix plaster or stone, that will be a thin mix, and you are going to paint it onto the surface of this wax in the patient's mouth. So once you have painted this, then you are going to take a tray, a small tray or a tongue blade, and you will apply more stone or plaster onto that, and then place it over this this wax, this tacky wax, and you will allow the stone and plaster to set. Once this is set, you are going to remove this will actually look like how you're doing indexing for soldering. So this will be similar what it will appear. So once this is the plaster or stone is set, then you're going to remove it. One more thing which we need to keep in mind is, whenever we are embedding the teeth into the plaster, we have to make sure only the occlusal surface should be embedded, not the entire tooth. Because if you do that, then the stone or plaster will get engaged into the undercut and your cast is going to break. So once you have removed that, then you will find an impression on your cast of the wax pattern which you are having. So this is what you see on the stone, and after this what you are going to do, you are going to apply separating media, and you are going to pour this with the stone to get the functional core. So this is how you are going to get the functional core. And after this what you are going to do, you are going to complete your preparation, because you just did the occlusal reduction and you made these records. So you will complete the preparation and you will make the final impression with the elastomeric impression material. After this you are going to pour the elastomeric impression material with the die stone, and then you will get the sectional your master cast. After this you are going to take a bite with an appropriate material. It could be a silicone material or a wax bite, and you are going to preserve this bite. After this you will take a twin stage occluder. So in this occluder, what is there on the lower member of the occluder, that is the articulator, you will be mounting the sectioned master cast, as you can see, and on the left hand side you will be having the anatomic cast which you are going to mount, and on the right side the functional core which you have made, that is you are going to mount that. So how you are going to do that? With the help of your bite record, and also while adjusting the functional core along upon the sectional master cast, you are going to mount each of these. So once this is done, then you are going to make a wax pattern on the sectioned die in the center. So, and you are going to check it. Initially you are going to check it with the anatomic cast, and then after that you are going to refine it with the functional core, your wax pattern. So once you find that there is no interference with your functional core and the section master cast with the pattern on the pattern, then after that you are going to invest the pattern and cast it. So after casting you will have the crown. You are going to seat the crown back onto the section master cast, and again check it with the functional core. So you are going to occlude the functional core and the section master cast and use articulating paper. So any interference is there between the two, you are going to remove that, rectify that, and then your cast restoration with functionally generated pathway is ready, and you will finish and polish it, and then you are going to check it into the patient's mouth. Mostly in such cases you will not find any kind of interferences as such. So this is actually a very simple procedure in which you will have you will reduce the amount of interferences and reduce the chairside time. So the advantages of this technique is simple, and it is time saving, and also it is an inexpensive technique, because you don't require very expensive instruments like your articulators. You just need a verticulator or a simpler occluder. So this is all about the functionally generated pathway. Thank you for watching the video.